This is Redish Motorsport showing another E46 M3 on the ramp. Come in for rear floor subframe reinforcement. And this is the third one we've done in 5 weeks. It's got 2 cracks on this one. There's a 2002, 77,000 miles. It's got the common crack on the front right mount where it develops from the factory spot weld. You can just see it in the distance. Just there. Hairline crack coming up from that front right mount. And then we've got a second one that's just started. Another common place as well. Not actually from the mount, that's the left rear mount, but it's on the just there. On the fold of where the BMW floor is pressed and stretched at the factory to make the shape. They just split from the corner there. So that's the second one. So we're going to take it all apart and then update the video. Redish Motorsport here. Part of the reason for the cracks appearing on the E46 M3 floor pan, we believe, is a design of the BMW factory subframe bushes. Here's a bush here that we've removed from a E46 M3 that had the same repair a couple of weeks ago, and you'll see that the centre aluminium sleeve, that takes most of the load because that's bolted directly to the floor. But BMW have designed these rubber lips that protrude from the bush on the top, one on the right, one on the left, and they don't normally touch the floor pan when the suspension's unloaded. You might just be able to see a gap all around the top, and that black line, which looks like a shadow, that's actually the imprint of the rubber, because they do come into contact with the floor when the suspension is loaded. I'm trying to simulate it with a lever bar. You can just see it does come into contact, and that puts quite a lot of pressure directly into a small area, and that's what we believe is the cause of the cracks appearing, because you've got spot welds all the way around this floor pan on all the points where the subframe bushes mount up. There's one there, there's one that's rusted there, and this is a rear subframe bush. The front ones are even worse because the front right one, there's a spot weld directly above one of these small rubber lips on the bush, and what happens is it constantly gets a pounding, and it basically just cracks the spot weld, and then cracks appear from the spot weld either side and shoot off in different directions. So the way to overcome that is, once you've done the reinforcement plates from VAT Motorsport or Turner Motorsport, get rid of the rubber bushes, take them out of the subframe because they're probably no good now. The cars are sort of 7-8 years old. They've got voids around them anyway, and they've got these sort of badly designed lips that protrude. Change them from some Powerflex bushes. You can get these straight from powerflex.co.uk or come to us, redishmotorsport.com, and we can sort some out. Basically, they're a polyurethane bush. They're in 2 pieces with a centre sleeve in the middle, just like most Powerflex bushes. But the design is the best bit because the centre sleeve still takes the impact, but these bushes are completely flat topped, so the load is spread over a much greater area, especially once you've got the reinforcement plates on. But even if you don't do the reinforcement plates, these are sort of a good preventative measure because they completely, well, like I said, they just spread the load a lot better than those 2 lips on the other BMW bushes. Okay, so we got all the rear axle assembly off. We've just still got the fuel tank in there at the moment, but this is just showing where the cracks are. This is the front right mount of the rear subframe, and there's the first one, which is the common problem. See if we can zoom in. There we go. So that just cracks around the spot weld, the factory spot weld, which is holding the threaded sleeve inside the cavity to this floor pan. There's the spot weld just there. You see this one's excuse me, corroded, and then it's just obviously cracked either side of the spot weld, and the cracks are shooting out. This one's not too bad, but it's obviously cracked. And those black lines there, those semicircle lips, one there and one there, those are the actual imprints of the bush, where the bush sits on one of the subframe bushes, just constantly is loading and unloading into the floor. Here's the design of the bush, the BMW factory bush. That's the top, and you see the centre sleeve that bolts up directly to the floor, so that takes most of the load, but on top of it you've got these two semicircle lips here, left and right, and those are the ones which sit up and they touch the floor, and the constant loading and unloading, obviously they don't move that much, but they put enough stress into a small area that cracks the spot weld. That one's the one that always cracks because the spot weld, unfortunately, is directly above the lip on the bush. So the spot weld cracks, and then cracks appear from either side of it, just like how a windscreen would crack. So that's the first one. And then the other common issues are this is the left rear mount on the subframe. Again, this one's not that bad either. It's not separated, but it's definitely a crack. So this is the visible one that you can see from underneath the car when all the axles in place. You can just about see it by looking through the rear anti-roll bar area on the rear subframe, and it just cracks on a sheet. It's like it's a one-piece sheet floor, but well, this section is anyway, and it's just on a bend. There's quite a few curves on this area, and I guess it's just where they're pressed or stamped at the factory, and maybe the metal's stretched or something, but they're obviously a weak point because they all seem to crack on this corner here. Sometimes on the left one too, you see it's just this corner here. It goes along and then drops down. Sometimes they crack there, but this one's okay. But they'll still clean the floors up and check underneath the undersill to make sure they're okay. So yeah, this crack needs to be addressed, and then there's a couple more spot welds which actually hold the threaded internal pieces onto the floor. There's a spot weld there which is just starting, not necessarily cracking, but you see the undersill's lifting off, so the spot welds obviously had movement to be able to break the undersill. Another one there, but that's clean, and then there's another one there. You see that we haven't touched it yet, but it's broken the undersill. There we go. And it's obviously all corroded underneath, so it's been open to the elements for certainly a good few months at least. So we'll take all the fuel tank assembly out now, and then clean all the floors up, take the undersill off and inspect them further for cracks. Okay, the fuel tank's down and we've cleaned the mounts by hand just to show the damage a bit easier and a bit clearer. So this is the right side mount, and there's the crack just there as showed in the previous one, and you can clearly see the marks of the bush where the bush impacts onto the chassis console. There's another spot weld there. This just had some movement and cracked the primer. So yeah, that's the first crack. This one's not too bad. It's not gone up too far, but it's developing. And the passenger side front mount, the left side should I say, has exactly the same issue. You see the bush markings there, and it's directly above a spot weld. That's the spot weld there. So a mirror image of the right hand side, but you'll notice that the rubber bush markings aren't as strong. It doesn't seem to have so much contact on that left hand side, and we wondered why it doesn't suffer with that. Could be something to do with the torsional load transmitted through the diff, because the diff on the M-Power cars is mounted at the front with a bush on the right hand side, and because the transmission power coming from the engine is always clockwise when you're looking at the engine, so the right hand side of the diff is always trying to lift, hence the bush is on the right hand side. And there's potential that torsional load, which still travels through the diff, obviously gets pushed into the subframe, and then from the subframe into the floor, which might be why this right hand side one seems to crack when the left hand one has got exactly the same issues but never seems to crack. So quite possibly that.